Tell us how you went from wine to the television business and then into restaurants. And the show was called Check Please?
Check Please, correct, yes. So the show came along, which is a PBS show. It was a show called Check Please, where we take 3 average people, and not restaurant critics, I should say, not average, but 3 non-professional people, and they each recommend a restaurant, then everybody switches and then comes back and talks about it. So I moderated the conversation. The show had already been in its 2nd season, and the 3rd season they needed a new host, and so they called me and they said, hey, listen, we'd love for you to audition. And so I did, and I ended up getting the job. So I did that while also keeping my day job. And so I really enjoyed it just because, Chicago is so diverse in terms of food, the food that you get. You get everything from a hot dog to a linea and then everything else in between. And so what I appreciated most about the show was that it encouraged people to visit the different neighborhoods in Chicago, to explore Chicago, to get outside their comfort zone and, try Senegalese food on 63rd and Halsted, or to go into like Bronzeville and check out a restaurant that they saw. There's nothing more motivating sometimes than like you're sitting at home and you're seeing this delicious food, on your television screen. You're like, I want to go there. And then you get in your car or you get on the train and you go visit and you go patronize these mom and pop restaurants and, really support the neighborhood, support the business, and get a great meal out of it at the same time. And so that was a transition there. And then the transition from working for somebody else to working for myself, well, that was the call of the entrepreneur. And it was a very scary call at first because, running your own business, especially opening a restaurant, is like, I don't know if this is such a good idea, but it was something that I knew I had to do. I had to pursue my own joy. So I decided to take the leap and open a restaurant. And then that was 5 years ago, and now I have 3.
So tell us about the first one. What was the biggest challenge in setting up that operation?
There were a lot of challenges with the boarding house. The chef, it was just the managing of the business and then just learning how to manage a business. The chef, unfortunately, we had to let go of in the first few months. He was a wonderful person, but just was not right for the scope of the business. But really, the challenges are always going to be there. The thing that I've learned in the last 5 years is adapting to the changes. What we entrepreneurs call the pivot. It's understanding the challenges and then giving yourself maybe 10 seconds to cry about it, but then taking that opportunity to fix it. And you have to just do that on a daily basis, and so the challenges are always there. I think I've become better at handling them. The hardest thing to nail down in a restaurant is consistency. And that's what matters to a customer, and because they want to make sure that if I'm coming in, that it's the same time that I had it last time. Let's just say like, oh my God, I got to take you to this place. They have the most amazing, steak or whatever it is. They want to make sure that they bring their friends in and they're going to spend the money again, that it was just as good as the last time they had it. And that consistency is very important. I'll take 2-star food, but I want 4-star consistency. And that's very difficult.
You talked about the addictive nature of the restaurant business. Do you stop at 3, or do you have a goal in mind? Are you thinking about 5 or an empire, perhaps?
I stop when I feel like we're not doing a good job. That's when I stop, but you have to make sure that your infrastructure grows along with you. But if I feel like I'm spread too thin, or I feel like the quality is slipping, or I feel like we're just not doing a good job, and I feel like the customers are suffering, I feel like employees are suffering because we're not providing the adequate infrastructure, that's how it's time to stop. And I'm going to be very specific if we do decide to do a 4th, because from what everybody's told me, it's the number 3 to number 4 that is the biggest jump, because you do outgrow your infrastructure. And so you have to just make sure that you have the right hiring in place, maybe a director of operations, more oversight, maybe you hire somebody to do things that you can't do. But it's just making sure that when you grow, that you grow properly. All successful people, not all successful, but many, many, many successful people end up in the final sort of challenge, and that's philanthropy. It's giving back. And that has become more important to me the older I've gotten. The further along in my career I go, you know, I realized in order for me to keep it, I have to give it away. So whether that's through mentorship, community involvement, working with charities, you know, my civic, you know, outreach. I'm involved with a number of organizations back in Chicago. There's a women's shelter that I work with called Deborah's Place. I sit on the board of our tourism board, True Chicago. I'm also involved with the Illinois Restaurant Association. And so it's my civic endeavors that really, you know, have become more important to me as well, just to give back, especially to a city that's given so much to me.